In the 1880s, a man by the name of George Walser decided that he was going to do something very novel. He decided that he was going to establish a city. Now, that's not all that novel, but what was going to be interesting about this particular city was that it was going to boast of pure atheism. You see, there weren't going to be any people who believed in God in the city. He was going to found the city that he was going to name Liberal, Missouri, on the understanding or the idea that everyone in this city is an atheist. That there is no God, no church, no heaven, no hell, nothing of a religious nature is going to be allowed in this particular city. Liberal, Missouri today has about 779 people in it. The street names are the same as they were when George Walser started the city, from my understanding. He named the streets after famous atheists and agnostics and infidels. You will see Darwin Avenue. You will see Ingersoll Avenue, named after Robert Ingersoll and Charles Darwin. There is a Paine Street or Paine Avenue named after Thomas Paine, who wrote a caustic diatribe against the inspiration of the Bible. Well, in 1880, when he started Liberal, Missouri, there were about 300 people in the town. And what quickly emerged was that the town was filled with thieves, with liars, with drunkards, with people that you would not want to associate with on a regular basis. And a man by the name of Clark Braden went to visit Liberal, Missouri. And Clark Braden was a debater. He had involved himself in something like 120 different debates. He had delivered over 3,000 lectures or so. He spoke on the Christian principles as found in the New Testament. And he visited Liberal, Missouri, and then he wrote an article describing what was happening in the town of Liberal, Missouri. You're looking at a photocopy that Eric Lyons researched and acquired of the actual article that was posted in 1885 in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. And in this article, Clark Braden proceeded to describe what was happening in Liberal. As you read it, he talks about how all of the women and men used bad language, used curse words. He said even the children cursed on a regular basis. He said habitually. He said there was an attitude of irreverence from the children to the parents. He said the hotels were like brothels. It was a place that no decent person would want to visit. And of course, he blamed that on the atheistic ideology that was the foundation of the city. Well, they sued Clark Braden very quickly for criminal libel and slander. And of course, very quickly after the situation was apprised, they realized that Clark Braden was saying exactly what was right, and the criminal investigation and court case was dropped. Clark Braden was totally exonerated of any criminal charges. But then he was sued on a civil suit for $25,000 by one of the hotel owners. And the hotel owner was trying to sue him civilly for libel and slander, but quickly when he realized what Clark Braden was going to do and the evidence that he was going to present that showed that the hotels were nothing more than brothels, the court case civilly was dropped, and the man who sued him paid all of the court costs. Clark Braden had hit the nail on the head. You see, Liberal, Missouri was a failed experiment. Oh, it wasn't a failed experiment of what would happen if you actually got a bunch of atheists together, because it showed exactly what would happen if there were a group of people, if there was a group of people that got together that really truly did believe that there was no God, and really truly believed that there is no standard for moral conduct. That's what would happen. But it was a failed experiment in that they set out to establish a town that was made up of upstanding, solid citizens of the country, and they could not do it because the foundation of their town was terminally flawed. That foundation being atheism. We need to assess the idea of atheism and the idea of Christianity in this particular lesson. And we need to see just where those two ideas would take a person if they really acted on their belief in those ideas. I want you to read a quote from a man named Bertrand Russell. At one time, Bertrand Russell was recognized as the foremost agnostic and sometimes atheistic, he swapped between the two, thinkers of his day. He wrote an article titled, "Why I'm Not a Christian." But in this particular quote, I want you to see what he says about Christianity. Now, he's not a Christian at all and would not have a place in his heart for the philosophy of Christ as found in the New Testament, but he says this. He says, Christianity, as soon as it conquered the state, put an end to the gladiatorial shows, not because they were cruel, but because they were idolatrous. The result, however, was to diminish the widespread education in cruelty by which the populace of Roman towns were degraded. Christianity also did much to soften the lot of slaves. It established charity on a large scale and inaugurated hospitals. Although the great majority of Christians failed lamentably in Christian charity, the ideal remained alive and in every age inspired some notable saints. In a new form, it passed over modern liberalism and remains the inspiration of much that is most hopeful in our somber world. Mr. Russell, do you believe that there's evidence to prove that Christianity is the truth? No, certainly not. Do you believe there's evidence to prove that God exists and that He inspired the New Testament? No, certainly not. Mr. Russell, do you believe that Christianity is the inspiration behind what is most hopeful in our somber world? Yes. Yes, I do. The truth is, friends, that if you meet a person who is applying the principles of Christianity to his or her life, then you will be meeting a person that is of such a stellar quality, such a high character, that it will be recognized even by those people who don't believe in God that the fruits of that type of philosophy are sweet.